This is TWiT.
I found this story on the Washington Post this morning. It was one that I was thinking about sort of from a macro perspective, but this one goes a little bit micro, and I think that it's an important thing to understand. So as different countries work to sort of lay down sanctions on Russia, as different countries are doing what they can from the economic perspective to tell Russia that what it's doing is wrong, big tech has hopped on board that train in different ways. We've seen lots of different companies saying, no, we're not doing business in Russia. Apple takes the sales of products out of Russia. Microsoft has jumped in there as well. Lots of different companies all saying, in whatever way their services or their products work, we are not doing business in Russia. But it's important to understand at the same time, or at least be aware of the fact that there's a difference between Russian leadership and Russian citizens in many cases, and the effect and impact that this is having on individuals. The Washington Post article talks about 3 different companies, Upwork, Twitch, and OnlyFans, as an example of some of the services in the country that folks use to make money, and how pulling out of the country has led to an impact on those different people. The article talks about Irina, a 22-year-old illustrator in Russia who worked via the Upwork platform, which is a way for people to find freelance folks in all sorts of different fields, and for freelance folks to find clients to basically connect and have business that way. And so Irina, who started using Upwork last year, suddenly was unable to do so because over the weekend, as we record this show, Upwork said, no, we're not working with Russia. And that has also happened to the quote, tens of thousands of Russian video game streamers on Twitch, because Twitch is not currently processing payments for those streamers. And according to Rolling Stone magazine, OnlyFans also is not paying workers currently through that. And a lot of this is because, so a lot of this ends up being that these companies, even if they didn't sort of make this stand themselves, would not have been able to pay their the people that are there, because when you think about how this all works, yes, there's Twitch, there's Upwork, there's OnlyFans, but they use payment processors who are sort of above them, who also then above them use major card companies like MasterCard and Visa. So when MasterCard and Visa stopped their payment systems there, and when Wise, which is a London-based company for cross-border payments, and Payoneer, which is a New York City-based services provider, and PayPal, which of course works all over the world, all ceased business in Russia, then those companies weren't going to be able to process many of those payments anyway. So that resulted in then those companies going, well, we kind of can't process those payments. Let's also sort of optically say, hey, look, we are taking a stand here. And so basically this points to kind of this, there are 2 kind of parts of the situation. One is gig work in general, which is this idea that folks are not necessarily being employed by companies anymore, but are sort of working with companies, as it were. And so Irina, the 22-year-old illustrator, doesn't work for Upwork. She just uses Upwork to find jobs. Someone who streams on Twitch does not work for Twitch, but uses Twitch to get their stuff out there. And so with just, a snap of a finger, all of these folks who were making a living suddenly are not able to make a living. And it's kind of frightening how much power these gig companies have over so many people's livelihoods. And when we also look at the impact then on that individual level, some of these folks are trying to get out of the country, but now don't have the money to do so. There was one person that they talked to in the piece who asked to remain anonymous due to fear of government reprisal, who said, I'm looking to get a loan now so that I can get out of this country so that I can A, go back to work, and B, not be here where things are not good. What's interesting too is some of these communities have come together in different ways to try and figure out other ways of making money when they need to, or helping each other out. And so I'm going to quote from the article. It says, after PayPal announced Saturday that it would suspend services in Russia, users began compiling lists of payment providers that were still serving Russians, noting that these sweeping policy changes also affected workers in Ukraine, and offering links to a Telegram channel and Google spreadsheet that kept track of shifting company policies. If there's one thing to be said for gig workers, one adjective that can be used to describe them, it's scrappy for sure. Mm-hmm. And I just can't imagine having to be scrappy in this scenario and in this specific case.
It sounds impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do. And it's a miracle that any of them are able to, organize as much as they can with everything being shut down. And just on Security Now earlier this week, they were talking about how Russia may possibly be considering sort of separating itself. Its internet would exist only within the country, and that Russians would not be able to even go on the global internet.
Right.
What do you do in that point? I mean, all of these gig workers who stream their videos, in the case of Twitch or OnlyFans, and in the case of Upwork, who European companies and U.S. companies who get workers from these other places because they can get them for less expensive than the people who work in their own countries.
A lot of that.
There's no connection now.
Right.
That's the part that I think is it's important to remember those things as we talk about it. And I want to note too, Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation just said, had this to say about this situation. Said, the gig workers are out of work, quote, just because they are silent when their dictator kills the people of our country. Fedorov wrote Monday on his Telegram channel. This is a courageous decision of the Upwork team, and asked other gig work platforms to follow suit. So from the perspective of Ukrainian leadership, this is seen as an altogether good thing, and that the country as a whole is suffering. I just think that it is important for all of us to look at the macro and the micro.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we talked a little bit about this last week. And obviously this, all this stuff is moving so quickly. Mm-hmm.
Every day.
Every day it's advancing. And I feel like my opinion last week is a little different than my opinion this week, right? Like last week I was like, well, yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do? Cut this stuff off, because that's going to, impact Russia more than anything else. What else does anyone have the power to do? These companies have the ability to kind of put the vice grip a little bit on from a financial standpoint and cut off these services. But over the last week, my mind has really shifted. It's really hard, because it is holding the citizens themselves. They're the ones that really end up suffering largely, either because they don't have typical distractions to take their mind off of just how crummy things are right now. Mm-hmm. Crummy is a censored word, a self-censoring word, because I wanted to say something else. Yeah. But also, being able to support themselves, and like you said, be able to work to have the money to be able to flee and protect themselves. And I mean, the crummy thing about it, there truly is no easy answer here. There is no answer that makes it that makes this a non-problem anymore, and it just sucks.
It just sucks. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have anything more prescient to say than that. It's really depressing to think about the impact that all of this has on the citizens who live inside of Russia who are just being held to account for the fact that they have a really, lame person controlling the country. And that's just all there is to it. I don't know what else to say as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. I just think
it's depressing.
Maintaining that awareness of the macro and micro. I think is what's
that awareness. Yeah, that's important. And you know what? And I'm prime example. Like it's okay that we change our minds.
Yes,
it's okay that being open to be able to understand the things that we felt like we believed pretty strongly, and then recognize, oh, wait a minute, there was actually a flaw in that, and be able to kind of change our minds and have that conversation, outside of being defensive about it. So, it saddens me to think about everything that's happening, with the Ukraine and Russia right now.
And don't forget to sift, stop, investigate the source, find better coverage, trace claims, quotes, and media to the original context.
Thank you. Yes. Good to remember.